Hello, Indonesia. Aku Chad Price. Check out my interview with CreativeDisc.com, the #1 music website in Indonesia.
Hello, City Bestie. Welcome back to another Creative Disc exclusive interview with me, Luthfi. And my guest today is a soloist coming from Canada who got very soulful vocal and mellow music. His voice is very smooth and can make you relax after you've got many activity running through your head. So, without further ado, this is my guest today. This is Chad Price coming from Canada.
Yo, hello, Luthfi. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you too?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Very happy to be here for Creative Disc, ready to chat music with you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. It's my pleasure to talk with you too.
Likewise.
Yes. How is it in Canada right now?
It's good in Canada. We had a nice sunny day today. Nice warm weather. We're in the evening now. It's 10 p.m.
Oh, wow.
10 p.m. like in the nighttime. So just looking at the night sky beside me, and yeah, but it's been a lovely day.
Oh,
Nice Sunday
wow.
afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your new music called Broken Open. Tell me more about your newest single called Broken Open.
I'm super excited about the new single, "Broken Open." It's an example of me digging deep as a songwriter and getting personal and vulnerable. Something that I'm working at as a human being and as a songwriter. It's the song that I wrote about, not necessarily loving myself as much as I maybe should be or as much as I'd want to, and having kind of these walls around me that it doesn't allow people to connect with me in a way that I'd want to either. So it's me just talking about those struggles that I've had in my life and my hope to extinguish those walls and let those walls down and let people in and let me kind of become the person that I want to become.
So it is interesting point. You're making a wall to yourself to connecting with people, and in Broken Open, you try to break that wall.
Yeah. Because like sometimes in relationships you become hardened the more that you live, and I've been able to live a little bit of a life now. I'm still a young man, but I've had some life experience, and sometimes you just get hardened, you get jaded by things that occur in your life, and it makes you want to close up and kind of not let anyone in. So this song is saying, it's an acknowledgement of that, and it's kind of me trying to make myself to not be that way, and to move forward with it with an open heart.
Speaking about the wall that you built in yourself, how first that you want to how your first attempt to break that wall?
My first attempt to break that wall, you know what, I don't know if there has been an attempt, honestly, because sometimes you just live life for so long, you forget that those walls are even there. That just becomes the norm. In many ways, the new norm is you with all of these walls up. And that's kind of where I got to in my life. I felt like this was normal, and it took a realization, it took a lot of introspection for me to realize that those walls are there, and I'm not living the best life that I could live. I'm not living the most authentic, truest version of myself. So I think this might actually be attempt #1 at this stage of my life. This is probably the first one, and I'm not ashamed to say that, Luthfi.
It's really getting more personal, I think, in Broken Open when you open up, like when you open up the track so detailed like this, and singing with your walls, like like your emotional walls and your mental. I think like it's kind of like you have a mental health problem. You want to say it in Broken Open, but sometimes when you sing about your personal problem, your personal feelings, it can very hard to do. It's a very hard to do. And how can you make it easy for you to sing Broken Open?
Yeah, you're very right. It is a scary thing to do as a songwriter and as a performer, to open up like this and allow people into a part of you that you're not used to letting people in. So how am I able to do that? Um, I'm able to do that by finally understanding that it's powerful to open up and to share your story. And when I do that, as soon as I started to do that, I realized that there's so many people around me that are experiencing the same thing or something very similar to this. And there's community in that, there's healing in that, there's growth in that. So by understanding that, I'm able to take these songs on stage and perform them and talk about it with people backstage or like wherever it may be. It's been a beautiful thing to be able to connect with people about their mental health and to let them know that they're not going through it alone. And yeah, so it just takes a little bit of courage, but now I have the awareness to know that it's a powerful thing when I do open up and allow people inside.
So how do you heal anxiety and broken feelings?
That's such a deep question. That's a hard question to answer, but
Ooh.
I suppose for me, at least, knowing that it's not something that changes overnight, it's something that it's a long-term process of going within and healing these things that are they have so much momentum and so much time behind them. It's going to require a lot of time for them to be corrected, so to speak. So just understanding that it's going to take a little bit, understanding that, like I said before, I am by no means in this on my own. There's so many other people that are going through similar things, and how helpful that is, and it makes it less scary once you realize that there's people that understand and there's people that are there for you. So I have people like that in my life, like outside of music, that are there for me and allow me to speak and create safe spaces for me to express myself. And then as a personal form of therapy, music, getting my message across through the music is also very, very therapeutic for me. And that helps a lot. So I'm just thankful that people are listening to the song. The feedback has been really amazing so far, and I'm glad it's connecting.
So speaking more about your musicianship, so what's the decision that turned you into a musician? Like into what's the biggest decision that, oh, I want to be a musician?
That took a while. It took a while for me to understand that I wanted to be a musician and to go after this at a professional level. I have played guitar since I was 10 years old. And I remember being in the house. We had a piano in our house when I was younger. And I used to be able to like mimic things that I heard on the radio or some music that my brothers might have been playing. I was able to recreate it pretty quickly on the piano. And I thought that was normal, but I quickly learned that like, oh, not everyone can do that. Maybe I have an ear for music. So that kind of interested me in music. I soon after got a guitar for Christmas from my parents, started to play that, but it was something that I was good at, but it was always just a hobby until I went to university at 19. And I think there was something about being away from home for the first time, being around new people for the first time, listening to different types of music and really finding myself as a human being that made me want to create. They got the creative juices flowing, and listening to other artists really helped that emerge as well. And I have to thank a lot of musicians for like pushing me towards that world. But I love John Mayer, I love Nora Jones, I love D'Angelo. People like that were really inspiring me at the time. So they kind of pulled me into songwriting and made me want to create something for the first time. And as soon as I started writing songs, even though they weren't that good, as they never are when you first try, there was something about the attempt of making music that I fell in love with, and I developed this passion for songwriting and creating. And from then on, I've been hooked pretty much ever since. Nothing has lit me up inside as much as songwriting and creating. So that's kind of when it happened, 1920, and I've been off ever since.
So when I see your influence music, your influence like on your playlist, on your Spotify playlist, you've got so many different. I know it's kind of unique. You've take on singer songwriter musician, and another side you've got onto the soul musician. But the
Yeah.
soul musician itself is the same like singer songwriter folk musician. Like why you love a singer songwriter musician to approach their story? Why do you like it?
I just love how some people are able to crystallize their message and deliver it in such a beautiful and sometimes surprising way, in a way that you've never heard before. It's able Some of the best songwriters are able to make you think. Like you listen to their song and it makes you think, and it stays with you much longer than the song has lasted. And I love that. I love the people who are the best at that. I love the old folk songwriters like Neil Young and Cat Stevens, James Taylor, Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan. Like those people can write a song and tell a story in a very simple, beautiful way. And then I also love, the funk soul world of D'Angelo and Erica Badu. If we want to get old school, like the Gap Band and Cameo and like Stevie Wonder and people like that. Like I come from both worlds. I grew up in a household where my parents were listening to the funk soul stuff,
Oh wow.
and then I kind of discovered the singer songwriter folk stuff, and I love them both so much. I decided to. No, I didn't decide. It's not something I decided. It's just what happened naturally. That my music is sort of a fusion of both, and I think that's what Chad Price is at the end of the day. My music, at least, it's a blending of those worlds, and it feels original. Yeah.
So I think I think it's kind of interesting me. That kind of intrigues me that I think your previous works and right now with Broken Open, and you say that you want to make a new album, which is we want to talk about it later. Like why it takes so long to make another project, another solo project?
Hmm. I think sometimes that's just what's necessary. I'm not one to stick by a schedule per se, a strict schedule. I'm one to kind of just let the inspiration come. And I feel like a project isn't really over until it decides that it's over. I try to stay out of it as much as I can. So it took me a while to create some new music because I feel like I just had to go live a little bit. I released my last album in 2017. I toured a lot in 2017, 2018. And you don't always just have an album ready to go after that. You have to sit down, you have to take time to be bored and to take in life and to let ideas germinate. So I allowed myself to do that. And then once I was ready, I knew that it was time to get back into the studio and create again. So it just took a long time because I felt like it needed to. And then also the pandemic happened in 2022. So that put even more of a weight on releasing music, because I was kind of ready to release in 2020. But because of the pandemic, I was able to go back into the studio and refine some of the songs that we've been working on and really go in and make them as good as they possibly can be. So that's why it took so long. Sometimes art just takes a while and you got to let it lead the charge,
Yeah. But speaking about pandemic, how pandemic affect your musicianship and your lives too?
Yeah, it definitely affected my life. It affected so many musicians' lives because we weren't able to play live, which is such an important part of what we do, such a big revenue generating part of what we do. So that was tough for all of us. But kind of luckily for me, at the end of 2019, no, at the end of 2018, and for most of 2019, I was in the studio creating. So I was already in a phase of kind of being underground and not super front facing. So the timing for me wasn't as bad as it was for someone who, say, was like just ready to release an album in March of 2020. I feel so bad for those artists. I wasn't quite there. So again, the pandemic allowed me to refine what I was working on, and I was able to luckily just kind of wait and continue to slowly create and slowly, tinker behind the scenes. So it was okay. It was relatively okay for me. And being the introvert that I am, though the world was shut down, and it was a terrible thing. It is a terrible thing that we all went through and are still going through. It was okay for me to kind of be alone and be quiet at that time, because it was necessary for me for the ideas to germinate and to create art. So it wasn't the worst timing for me. It could have been a lot worse.
No, so I think like in pandemic time, you reflect to yourself like even more.
Yeah, I made use of the time. I wanted to release new music in 2020. Like I was thinking summer 2020. So it just made me press pause on music again and refine what was already being worked on. So it was all good.
Okay. What's the biggest thing that you learned in pandemic time?
What is the biggest thing that I learned in pandemic time? I suppose just a reminder to not take anything for granted. That, we live our lives assuming that we're always going to be able to hop on stages and express ourselves, but
Mm.
it reminded me that like this is a privilege. What we do, making art and sharing that with the world, is definitely a privilege. And to take every moment, uh, don't take any moment for granted. Make the most of every moment that we possibly have.
Ooh.
Express as much as we can. Say whatever we need to, because we don't know when, you know, we don't know when it's going to be taken away from us. So I've just been really grateful for the times that we have to perform, to make art and share
Mm.
it with the world,
Mm.
and to just be with family. It goes beyond music. The pandemic was tough for everyone.
Mm.
Wasn't able to see my parents for
Ooh.
a long time there, and that was tough. Um, wasn't able to see my brothers and
Mm.
my niece and nephew. So
Mm.
just taking time with family, making sure to make the most of it all, I think was the biggest lesson I learned.
Wow, making every second count, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. We have to.
Yeah. So, how your debut album will gonna be? I think like on your debut album that you said that you said that this is like gonna be your debut album. I think because I think like in your different work, it's very 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 different from right now. Broken Open as a teaser of your new single of your new album.
Yeah, it is going to be very different. So, I've released 2 previous albums.
Mm.
I've been at this for a little while now,
Mm.
like almost a decade, actually over a decade. I've been at
Mm.
this professionally. So, in that decade, I spent those years really learning. So, in the first 2 albums, I was really just throwing everything against the wall
Mm.
and seeing what would stick. I was figuring out who I was as a person, figuring out who I was as an artist,
Mm.
and though there's a lot of songs that I've released that I'm super proud of, there's also a lot of stuff that I'm like, yeah, I was still learning on that one, or like,
Mm.
maybe that one could have been left in the oven a little bit longer. It's not quite baked, but I think that's a
Mm.
part of the process of becoming who you are as an artist. And on the new album, which will be out a little bit later on this summer,
Mm.
I finally feel like me. Like I have my feet underneath me. I know who I am as an artist and as a person, and I know how I want to present myself to the world. So this feels like I keep using the word refined. I apologize, but it feels
It's
feels like a
all
more
that's right.
yeah, it feels like a more refined version of me. This is who I am as a musician. The songwriting, I think, has never been better. The musicianship has never been better. And
Mm.
the producer that I worked with, Matthew Johnston, knocked it out of the park, and he was able to get a lot out of me as a performer that I don't think I wouldn't have been able to tap into that next level, that next gear, had it not been for Matthew Johnston.
Mm.
So I'm super super appreciative of him. Yeah, so it's like a debut. This is like a debut in my opinion.
It's like a kind of like debut album, and you are reborn as a musician, I think.
That is absolutely true. That's very accurate.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, okay, chat, mention 5 things we didn't know about you. It can be your favorite album. It can be your random things. It can be what's your eat in the morning. It can be anything. Go ahead.
Okay, 5 random things about Chad Price.
Yeah.
Here we go. Favorite album?
Hmm?
D'Angelo Voodoo,
Ooh, wow.
released in 2000. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite. I cannot get enough of that album, even today in
Oh,
2022.
oh, really?
That album's like what, 22 years old, I
Yes,
suppose.
yes.
And that's still my favorite album. It still sounds incredible. It like has this ancestral, just I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
when I listen to it, it's like the ancestors are talking to me through that album.
I think
Um,
I think the Angelo album is very very abstract, and you can describe what it is. I think onto the latest project like with the Black Messiah. I think like I don't know what's the album. It's very very good, but I can describe what's the good behind it.
right? It just makes you feel something, and I think
Yeah,
that's what the best art does. That's what the best art does.
yeah.
So yeah, the D'Angelo album, that's my favorite album of all time. What else about Chad? I was an athlete growing up. I
Oh,
loved playing basketball and
oh.
hockey. I know you don't know much about hockey in Indonesia, but that is, if you're born in Canada, they say
Mm.
like you're born with skates on. So I grew up playing hockey and a lot of sports, and that was kind of my identity for a while.
Mm.
So big athlete, love the Toronto Raptors basketball team here in Canada in
Ooh.
the NBA. Yeah, What else? What
Your
else about Chat
favorite
Price?
movie, your favorite movie.
Favorite movie. I feel like this is a lot of people's favorite movie, but Interstellar, Christopher
Yes.
Nolan directed.
Yes, 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 yes,
I tend to love anything about space and
yes.
science as
Mm.
long as it's kind of grounded in reality. I'm not talking like Star Wars and Star Trek. Sorry, everyone who loves those things, but they're not really for me. Yeah, I just love that it's based in like some form of reality. Clearly, it's still
Mm.
fictional. Um, but I just love that movie, and I love the soundtrack, and I love the
Yes,
way it makes me feel.
yes.
It's a beautiful, beautiful movie,
I shed the tears during Interstellar. You know that ending scene that, oh my God, I'm so goosebumps when I watch it. Like, oh really?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's so well done. I know I don't know much about science, but
Me too, but
yeah,
you know,
it doesn't
me
matter.
too. I didn't know much about science too,
Yeah,
but that Interstellar movie is so touching. Like if you didn't care about the space stuff, you can still feel the emotion of the character, right?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I love that we're on the same page with that one, Luthfi. That's awesome.
That's awesome to
Um,
Chad.
one more thing about me, I love. I don't love it, but I've recently gotten into yoga.
Oh,
So I'm a practicing yogi, if you will. And so that's a new phase of my life. I'm not the most flexible person, but my lovely girlfriend has recently pulled me into the world of yoga, and it's great. It's like the health benefits are fantastic physically, but for me, mostly it's the mental aspect of it, and
yeah.
it clearing your mind and being able to focus on your breathing and just blocking out thoughts and letting thoughts come and go as they please. And like it's just really helped me to clear my mind, and that
Mm.
makes me be more creative later on in the day. It opens up space to create, which I love.
Yes, yes. I sometimes
Yeah,
do yoga too before sleep. You know the Cobra one, and the
yeah.
handstand one. Before sleep.
You can do a handstand.
A little bit, but I can do the handstand. But when I'm facing the wall, not on the facing, not the wall.
Right, right, right. Still, that's more advanced than I am. I aspire to where you are, so
Oh,
I'll get there.
thank you, thank you, thank you. So the last thing that we didn't know about you. Can you say your favorite? Not favorite. The first album that you listen as a kid.
Oh, that's a good question. The first album that I listened to as a kid. Hmm. Well, I remember the first album that I actually purchased as a
Yes,
kid. It wouldn't be the first one that I listened to, but the first album that I purchased
yes.
was the Outcast dual album, Speaker Box and The Love Below.
Really?
That was the first one. Yeah, yeah,
Man.
yeah. That I've always loved Outcast. And even before that album, I was listening to him. Like AT Aliens was another one that I loved. Aquemini. Yeah, Outcast is my favorite, definitely my favorite rap group of all time. So there's another thing you didn't know about me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And speaking about Outcast speaker box, the love within, the love within or speaker box, the love below.
Speaker Box and The Love Below. There, it's like
And the
a
love below. Yes,
dual
yes,
album.
yes.
Yeah,
I think
I
I
think
think
Andre 3000 was A Love Below, and Big Boy was
Big Boy
Speaker
on speaker
Box.
box, and it's a very very great album. I when I heard it, I didn't feel bored. Even the duration is very very long. The duration is very very
Yeah,
long because Andre has a vision, Big Boy has a vision, and both are great, and both like what they can mix onto the one album and the separate things. They're very very
I
genius,
know.
I think.
Absolutely geniuses. Yes, the fact that they have two albums and that it's like every song is amazing. Like there's not one skippable song
Yes,
pretty much on
yes,
both sides is really really impressive. And yeah, I appreciate their musicianship, especially Andre 3000.
yeah.
He's out there musically and willing to take risks and like just do things that are completely left field. Like I admire that as a musician because I don't want to be bogged down by my own genre. I want to be able to evolve and try different things as I gain more experience and get older. So he's an inspiration for sure. Both of them really, but especially Andre.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Under 3000 side is very, very. I didn't know it's very, very out of the hip hop world. It is very, very out of the rap world.
Yeah.
Like sometimes he can do the like Hey Yeah. Hey Yeah is on Android, isn't it? Hey Yeah.
Yes, it is. It
Hey
is.
Yeah, and the psychedelic track one that I listened to before sleep, like the music video is like an aliens like coming down to the like I don't know flowers, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it might be Prototype.
A prototype.
Yeah, Prototype, right? Yeah, I think you are the prototype. That's a great song.
Yeah. I did when I heard first time prototype, like what? This is a rap album? No way.
I know he's got aliens coming down and stuff. It's crazy.
It's
That's
crazy,
why I love
man.
him, though. That's why I love him. It's you never know what you're gonna get with him. I hope he
Yes.
comes back and makes some new music soon. I know he's been out of the game for a while,
Amen.
but it'd be lovely to see him make some new music.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
But
Amen.
do what
Amen.
you want, Andre. I mean, live your life. But if you got some time, drop some music. That'd be nice.
Amen. I'm waiting for their new release too. So, Chat
I
Price,
know.
thank you very much for this interview today. Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure to talk with you today.
Oh, I really appreciate it, Luthfi. Thank you so much for having me. I could not thank you enough. Just really happy to be here.